another episode of What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. What's Working focuses on workplace and workforce trends, and we identify companies, businesses, people that are doing some interesting things and are making a stir both in our community as well as outside of our community. What's Working is brought to you by Coastal Alabama Community College. I want to make sure we get our presenting sponsor's name in there. And one of the trends that is undoubtedly on fire, not just in Mobile or this area, but it seems nationwide from my observation, is the festival market. And I'm talking about music festivals here. Now, I will enter this conversation by saying something that if you knew me would be very obvious. And if you do know me, you're nodding. You'll begin nodding as soon as you hear this. I'm an old man. I'm stuck in my ways. I avoid crowds. My ears are still ringing from a Radiators concert in the early 90s, and I've got tinnitus, and it bothers me every single day. And I avoid loud music, and I avoid crowds, and I avoid crowds of drunken people listen to loud music. But my gosh, the Hangout Festival sold out in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. And our guest today is going to be Reeves Price. Reeves is one of the guys, or is the guy, organizing the Hangout Festival. It's under new ownership, new leadership. We'll learn a little bit about that. But my goal of this upcoming conversation with Reeves, we're going to get him on the phone here in a couple of minutes, is not about who's coming. It's not about the bands and the acts and stuff. It's about putting on a festival. It's about dealing with hordes of people, mostly young people, and mostly, based on my final experience, I think at New Orleans Jazz Fest. I could be wrong, but my final experience 2 or 3 years ago at New Orleans Jazz Fest, it's about a lot of people in a small amount of space, many of whom are males, much younger than me, with their shirt off, sweating profusely, having been overserved and screaming woo the entire time. I don't know that they heard the music at all over their own selves screaming woo. And my wife and I said, you know what? I think we've aged out of this. This is just not my gig anymore. And we found our way to the gospel tent where there were people sitting down, and we heard some, what I thought was wonderful, wonderful music in the gospel tent. And the only people screaming woo were the ones who had been moved and called to the front of the room to, speak in tongues, which we thoroughly enjoyed as well. So I'm over the hill. I'm not a part of the festival marketplace. I prefer live music in small venues where I can sit down and perhaps talk to the person next to me and comment on the music and not stand shoulder to shoulder with drunken, shirtless people, males, screaming woo. And maybe I'm missing something. But it's going to be interesting to hear how you manage these crowds, how you put these things together, what the bands are looking for, what the, these crazy riders that you hear about that bands offer and say, oh, we got to have only yellow M&Ms or something like that. There's a story behind that. I think it originates from an old Van Halen contract when they first began using pyrotechnics in the stadiums in indoors. They made sure people read every line of the contract. And they could tell quickly when they entered the dressing room whether they had read every line based on whether there were a certain color M&Ms in a jar. And that told them, yeah, they've read every line, therefore they've probably done the right things to get the pyrotechnics ready to go. Pretty funny story. Anyway, we're going to speak to Reeves Price. Reeves, I know I'm going to like him already. He is a Tulane graduate. I, too, am a Tulane graduate, which puts him in the top 1% of people in all mankind. We're going to connect, and we're going to learn about the festival market. What goes on out there, and what does it take to organize and plan one of these things? You're listening to What's Working, brought to you by Coastal Alabama Community College. I'm Cam Marston. We'll be right back in a moment.
Think about how people really see you. The kid at the drive-thru just sees a coffee drinker.
Please pull forward.
Your local barista sees the person who loves a smiley face in their latte.
See you next time.
It's kind of the same way with insurance. Other insurance companies just see a customer, but a State Farm agent sees more. They see you as a neighbor. Your State Farm agent is here to get to know who you really are so they can help life go right.
Call me, State Farm agent Allison Horner, in Mobile at 666-1616.
Hey, this is Cam Marston. If sales in your business comes from prospecting to create leads that lead to sales, I want to tell you about Sales Up Coach, a cloud-based system created for the next generation of sales professional. There's a big difference between being busy and being effective. And Sales Up Coach helps salespeople who rely on prospecting Uncover which of their activities produce the greatest results. Over time, Sales Up Coach's machine learning hones salespeople's schedule to focus only on activities that generate the most bang for the buck. Your sales team interacts with Sales Up Coach on their smartphone, and sales managers can instantly generate reports to see who is on goal and who may need additional support. Go online and take a look at this new and very powerful sales tool. Go to salesupcoach.com/Cam Marston. Watch your sales team's productivity change.
Is your business growing? Does your existing metal building need an update? Expansion? New roof? With almost 20 years of experience, Mosley Building Systems is the leading metal building contractor along the Gulf Coast. We are your local design build experts. From expansion to new construction or repairs, we can guide you through all aspects of your project. Mosley Building Systems works with each client to fulfill their vision. For more information, go to mosleybuildingsystems.com.
On the line with me is Reeves Price. Reeves is the guy that's heading up Hangout Fest in Gulf Shores this year. He is, as I said prior to the commercial break, he's a Tulane grad, which biases me incredibly, makes him one of the top 1% of all human beings on planet Earth. And he has been given a huge responsibility. The Hangout Fest sold out in 2 weeks-ish. And Reeves, I wanted to let you know that my daughter's birthday gift this year was a ticket to Hangout Fest. It'll be her first trip down there. Welcome to What's Working. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, glad to be here.
So the Hangout Fest is getting a lot of attention, and there's continues to be more and more interest in this thing. You guys are promoting it wonderfully well. But I don't want to talk as much about Hangout and the acts that are coming and traffic patterns or anything like that. I want to talk about what it takes to manage a festival. And this is one of several that you all do as a larger organization. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, it is. We have, there are two that I sort of directly oversee, which is Hangout and then the Buku Festival in New Orleans. And AEG is a company who's my employer has, several others, including the Coachella Festival, including the Hyde Park, British Summertime Concert Series and many others. So that's correct. We have our hands in quite a few music festivals.
So I give a extraordinary number of presentations every year. Leave tomorrow for Phoenix to give another one out there. I deal with a lot of meeting planners. They're heavily detailed, organized people. They are one of the top 5 most stressful jobs in the nation. I remember seeing something like that a year or two ago. You are a meeting planner on steroids. You guys have so much more to do than a meeting planner. And I don't want to belittle any of my meeting planner friends out there, but man, the number of facets, if that's the right word, that you have to deal with to put on a festival like this. Give me a sense of the comprehensiveness of the job in order to put on the Hangout Festival or any of the other ones that you or your team have a hand on.
Yeah. I think for us to be good at what we do, we have to be able to look at a project. And that's kind of how I view these things as projects, these festivals, and look at it from a lot of different perspectives and a lot of different angles, whether it's looking at it from, a potential ticket buyer in terms of how do we sell a ticket to somebody. And then from there, it's how do we, looking at it from an attendee that's already coming, how do we produce an experience that makes them want to come back? It's coming from the perspective of the artists and saying, how do we attract the best talent to want to come to our festival? And then once they get there, how do we make them go home and tell all their artist friends, hey, you got to play this festival in Alabama or in New Orleans or wherever else it is. And then it's the same thing for our staff and the various contractors and vendors. How do we get the best staff we possibly can? How do we get the best vendors we possibly can? How do we manage them properly and get them wanting to come back, wanting to deliver, goods and services as high quality and as they possibly can. And so you kind of you need to be able to just wear a bunch of different hats and kind of put all these pieces together and, create a product that people want to come to. Cause the first part is, you need to sell the tickets first. And then once you sell the tickets, you're simultaneously figuring out, all right, how do we really put on a show? How do we make it unique? Cause it's not just about, the festival landscape is extremely competitive and there's a lot of events out there that set an extremely high bar in terms of, what the value that we're delivering for our ticket buyers. They're spending $200 or $300 on a ticket.
Yeah.
Probably a couple thousand more between lodging and food and beverage and all those other things. And, for us, it's really important for us to remember that we're here to really give these people the best weekend or the best night or day of their year, if not their life, right? That's what they're paying for. That's what they're expecting. And we can't take that for granted. We can't just sort of phone it in and say, hey, we got you in, we got you out. Everything was safe. The music was there. There you go. People are expecting unique experiences. They're expecting attention to detail. They're expecting to really kind of have their minds blown and leave each night or each day saying, wow, when do tickets go back on sale?
That's a tall order that you've taken on yourself to make it one of the top nights of their year. Yet they're sharing this with how many tickets is Hangout going to sell? How many tickets did Hangout sell?
40,000.
So they are sharing the best night of their year with 40,000, of which 2 or 3 may be friends. The rest are strangers. And your challenge that you've given yourself is we're going to give these people the best night of their year at this event. That's hard to hold up, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, but it's fun too. That's the best. That's the most fun part, like the logistics there's all the hard part stuff. And I mean, that's hard too, but that's the fun part, it's being able to think creatively and come up with new and fun ideas, but then also figuring out how to execute them. Cause a lot of times, we're trying stuff for the first time or trying to reinvent the way that a stage looks or, the way a fan may interact with kind of art or various experiential elements of the event. So it's fun, it's certainly stressful at certain and a lot of times, but it's extremely rewarding when you're on site. You see that, you're seeing people go wild and that they're really, they're not going to forget the time that they're having at your event.
Do you know what the average age of your ticket buyer is? Is that a demographic that you track?
Yeah, it's about 25 for Hangout Festival.
Okay, 25, which means that I'm well outside of the target market, and I don't feel real bad about not buying this ticket here. As I said in the opening comments, my last experience with Jazz Fest, I was slammed into the slammed in with a group of people, but mostly half-naked men screaming woo, all of whom had been overserved, and I thought maybe I have... this has passed me by. I'm an old man now, and I'd like to listen to music while someone rubs my feet versus standing next to a shirtless, overserved male screaming woo. However, I understand that. But I guess the question is, what do you know about that 25-year-old and how they're going to blow their mind, best night of their year? I mean, there's got to be trends in the festival business, if I can call it that you're tracking and trying to introduce to Hangout as well as Boku?
Yeah, I think, the first thing that we're paying attention to is the artists that, our various fans or kind of fan bases, are connecting with, because, that's still the primary driver, for sales is who's going to be performing on the stages, obviously.
Sure.
There's the other elements, around festivals and events like this that I think is what brings them all together and makes it an unforgettable experience and kind of builds that loyalty that you're really looking for. but it starts with artists. It starts with understanding who people want to see, and trying to get them to the show.
Are the artists, do you pick the artists based on download sales? Is it word of mouth? Are there artists
it's all sorts of things. There is no algorithm that says, okay, we plug in these data points from our, based on our, who our average attendee is, and it tells us we should book, this act, and this act, and this act. It's much more, it's much more of an art. It's curatorial, right? It's thinking about not everybody at the festival is 25, right? So you can't just put yourself in a corner and say, here's what our average attendee looks like, and let's book for that. Hangout has a good contingent of older fans, especially within the VIP areas.
There we go. That sounds about right. That sounds about my world. That's where I can get my foot rubbed.
I'll tell you, this much. The Hangout VIP experience is pretty unparalleled. I'm biased, but I went to the last 8 Hangout festivals as a fan. I met my wife at Hangout in 2012. And so I've come every year because the experience is really second to none. And I mean, I've been to music festivals all over the world, and the Hangout Festival experience is top notch.
I want to get you to describe that. I want you to define what it is when we come back from break. Folks, you're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. On the line with me, Reeves Price. Reeves, what's your title?
I'm the Vice President of Operations for AEG Presents Gulf Coast and Winter Circle Productions.
There. You got to have a long business card. Reeves Price on the line talking about the festival business. What's Working is brought to you by Coastal Alabama Community College. We'll be right back. I understand the Hangout Festival lineup is really good this year. It's sold out in 2 weeks. There'll be a lot of people coming to Gulf Shores that weekend. So how do you manage all the musicians and festival goers while being respectful of the neighbors? Well, by having skills in management and organization and probably a healthy dose of psychology. Coastal Alabama Community College has a management and supervision technology program, and students pursue either a certificate or an associate's degree, both of which prepare students for immediate entry into the workforce. Classes include public speaking, marketing, communication, principles of management, and human relationships. To learn more about this program or any of the other degrees offered, check out Coastal Alabama Community College's website at coastalalabama.edu.
What's Working with Cam Marston is brought to you by Stella Artois Beer. Stella Artois is a perfect beer for celebration. Nothing caps off a big sale, hitting your incentive goals, or a profitable quarter like a round of Stella's. Brewed first in 1708 as a special Christmas brew, today Stella is a gift for everyone to enjoy year-round. Stella Artois. Find it wherever fine beer is sold.
Investing, connecting, leading, providing. The Community Foundation of South Alabama brings together philanthropic assets to make Southwest Alabama a better place to live, work, and play. We link donors to philanthropy. Working with you, we build communities. Contact us at communityfoundationsa.org.
Coastal Alabama Community College is 3 amazing colleges combined into one incredible institution. And that means we're all together. For more sports, 15 more locations, more friends, more one-on-one time with instructors, way more activities, more courses, a lot more courses, and more success for all of us. Pretty much more of everything. Coastal Alabama Community College is where everyone is. All together! Coastal Alabama Community College. Register today.
Reeves Price is, he gave us the title prior to the break, but I'm just going to say running the show for Hangout Festival and a couple of other music festivals in the Deep South, one in New Orleans, one in Gulf Shores. And we're talking about the festival business. And prior to the break, you were saying the attendee experience at Hangout Festival is second to none. And this is based on your experience with music festivals all over the world. What makes it so special?
I mean, the first thing is the setting, right? You know, when you're talking about when you're trying to create a new music festival or you're trying to maybe alter one that exists, the first place that you always start is the site, because you can spend a lot of money on art and scenic fabrication and all of those things, or you can spend less money and have and if you have a beautiful site, you know, we tend to stay away or try to stay away from just popping up shows in parking lots. And so for Hangout, it starts with the beaches of Gulf Shores, the white sand, the clear water, and really a beautiful venue that we build a lot of the infrastructure for, but the city of Gulf Shores has also done a great job investing in the sort of Gulf Place areas and the beach access there and the infrastructure. And it really lends itself to a great experience for the festival attendees. That's always where you want to start. And then the venue and the site are really the first step there.
So you talked a little bit in the first segment about the artists in your effort to try to convince them that this is one of the festivals. What you said is, we want the artists to have a great experience. So they'll go tell their artist buddies, you need to play this one. So it sounds like you're trying to sell, that's my term, the artists on playing your festival. It would seem to me
Absolutely.
They can come to Gulf Shores and get a check. There's no selling involved. That's where the next gig is. But that's not the case?
No, not necessarily. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities out there for artists to perform. There's a lot of music festivals out there. They have certainly their own touring business, and it's, booking a great lineup it's not easy. There's a lot of competition. Just on our weekend alone in May, you have the Electric Daisy Carnival happening in Las Vegas. I believe you have Bottle Rock in California, and there's other things happening around the rest of the world. And there's a scarcity of talent out there, especially headliner top tier talent. So you've really got to make it, you've got to attract these artists. You have to get them to want to play your event. You have to get them to see value in it, to connect with it. Otherwise you're going to have a hard time building a consistent lineup and having a consistent product and being consistently profitable.
Is the destination a selling point for the artist? Is the fact that it's on the beach in Gulf Shores a selling point for the artist, or is the artist measuring the value of the event differently?
They're looking at the location. Yeah. The artist experience, just like the fan experience at Hangout, is second to none. There's a backstage beach, where they can hang out and eat oysters and do whatever else. So that's definitely plays into it. I'd say, it's secondary to their availability and our ability to pay them what they're looking for. But it very frequently is what makes, kind of tips the negotiations one way versus the other, is, do they want to play this thing? And that makes it a lot easier to book a lineup when they do want to play this thing.
So is there kind of a collegiality amongst the artists, so that as they're out there on tour and bumping into each other, they say, oh yeah, we've played Hangout Festival, that was a good one, versus, oh, we've played Jazz Fest or something like that. They've kind of got a list of destinations they've played, and they're all kind of trying to share the same list, and Hangout is on that.
Yeah, I think, I think that they run into each other at other festivals or at our festival and say, how great is this? Or, they casually chat about, how awesome the beach was at Hangout, and word gets out, and it's beyond the artists too. It's their agents, it's their managers and the teams around them. all kind of speaking highly of it. It comes down to their production managers and technical directors saying, hey, I've heard from my buddy who was there with the Foo Fighters that they really know what they're doing in terms of the stage production and how to handle all of that. There's all sorts of different aspects that come into play. And you really want to be able to deliver in all of those different channels to kind of attract the artists and get them motivated to take your offer.
Is there another side of this where there are artists who are looking for recognition and they're trying to sell themselves to you?
Yeah, there absolutely is. It's a two-way street. This is a great event that provides a lot of value to these artists in terms of exposure, in terms of servicing a market that's probably not, that's not a market that's probably in their traditional tour routing, right? Which works to our benefit. It's one thing to kind of try and produce a show in New York and book an artist and say, hey, come play our thing, but you can't play New York for 6 months. Whereas in Gulf Shores, Alabama, Post Malone's tour is probably not coming through Gulf Shores. And so there isn't that opportunity cost there for them on that side. So yeah, there's definitely value there for them, especially some of the smaller artists. I mean, that are going to get great looks. They're going to get, a lot of them could be playing and, 90% of the people they're playing in front of could have never seen them before, or maybe never heard of them. So, as you work your way down the bill, that opportunity creates more value for the smaller artists than it does the larger artists.
Yes.
And it's important to kind of leverage that also.
And this is an unfair question, and I think I'm prepared for your answer here. Post Malone. Now, here's the old man speaking. I have no idea who this group is. I'm sure they're fantastic and all wonderful gentlemen. What does it cost to book these guys?
I mean, I can't disclose what
I thought you'd say.
what his fee is, but it's quite a bit of money. A lot for him. He's a singular artist. He's not a band.
Okay.
I mean, I recently took my mom to see Elton John up in Philadelphia and talked a little bit about the economics of his tour and kind of why I thought tickets were priced the way that they were and things like that. And what I think a lot of people don't understand is the expenses that it takes these artists to produce their shows. I mean, we haven't started talking production with Post's team yet, but I mean, you're talking about handfuls of semi trucks and tour buses. You're talking about just, tons and tons of gear moving around the country, huge, a touring party of could be 20, 30, 40 personnel.
Are you
that are
serious?
Coming in around
that many
Absolutely.
People? 20,
Absolutely.
30, or 40?
Yeah.
That are showing up for this guy's show, that are arriving there to support this guy's show.
You've got the bus drivers and the truck drivers that are getting the gear there. You have all of the technicians that are operating the lighting systems, the audio systems, the video systems. You have the backline techs that are making sure that the drums sound right, that the guitars sound right. You've got you've got the tour manager who's in charge of getting all of these people and the logistics of, getting the crew there and getting them out and getting everything where it needs to be. You've got the production manager who's interfacing with the festival's team to source local labor and local resources and make sure that they have what they need to put on their performance. I mean, you've got the people that are making sure that their crews are getting fed, that are setting up the dressing rooms, that are making sure the artist has everything that he needs to be able to perform at his, be comfortable and put on his show. There's a lot of moving pieces.
There are a lot of moving pieces, more than I had thought. And not only is it all those moving pieces, and I guess this is kind of inherent in what I'm saying, you got to make space for 5 18-wheelers to roll in and unload and park, I assume, somewhere nearby.
Sure.
And then reload and get out of there. So what the audience sees from their standing point of view at the stage, it could be twice as large behind the stage to facilitate all that. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've got guys, you may have, we'll have a site director and he can tell you to the inch how wide a semi truck is, how many feet it needs to make a 90-degree turn, the turning radiuses of all of these buses, so that we understand exactly how much space we need to move these vehicles in, move them out, get them into place. All those things are extremely important, and they have to be right. You can't, if you build your trailers in the wrong spot, you can't get your trucks in. You're not in a good place. That means you're not going to have your show. So, and then it costs you money to move those trailers and all those things. So, there's people that really specialize in it, and there's not that many of them. That's kind of goes back to what I was saying in the earlier segment about being able to attract good talent, not just from the artist side, but in terms of the staffing and the vendors side. You have to, there's not an infinite number of people that are music festival site directors. You don't go to school for that. You don't, I didn't go to school for what I do, but I think the majority of our business, you can't really get any experience in it unless you really dive in. And to be able to get to that level, you've got to be doing this for 10, 15 years and really see everything.
Do you contract these people for a festival, or are they on the payroll? These very valuable 15-year experience festival organizers.
We have a certain number of full-time folks that work out of our office here in New Orleans. And then we have, a roster of sort of freelancers that are independent contractors that will, you're usually trying to get to those folks early and say, hey, put these dates on your calendar, and because they're getting pulled a million different ways. There's more and more of these events, and I don't think that there's as many. I don't think the talent pool and the operations and the production side is growing as fast as the events are. So it's really important to keep folks, to keep the same folks, because also you really don't want to be trying to reinvent the wheel year over year, especially for a festival site such as Hangout, which is so complex with the beaches, right? The road closures, all of those things. Somebody trying to step in and do that in a sort of first year without a lot of institutional knowledge is going to have a serious challenge. So you really want people coming back year over year, because that's how you that's how you learn from the mistakes you make, correct them and build upon them, so that you can really focus on those finer details that build the loyalty with the fans, that build the loyalty with the artists and with the vendors. Let's talk a little bit more about that when we come back from break. And I want to talk about your interaction with the artists and some of the things that they're looking for. I mentioned in the opening segment before I had you on the phone, the famous story of, what is it, the yellow or the green M&Ms or something like that. See if there's anything like that in your background. You're listening to What's Working. Reeves Price is on the line, managing Hangout Festival. What's Working is brought to you by Coastal Alabama Community College. We'll be back after this break.
The Community Foundation of South Alabama links donors to philanthropy, builds networks across 8 counties, and builds dreams for those in need. Through our donors' gifts, we make investments that enhance our community via initiatives with broad impact. Working with you, we build communities. Contact us at communityfoundationsa.org.
First Protective is a multidimensional financial firm specializing in risk management. We blend all dimensions of financial services, offering our producers diverse products to create multiple revenue streams. If you're a life insurance producer or in the traditional investment business looking to grow your business, we can help. Call me, Jay Stubbs, at 251-604-7024 or find me online at www.firstprotective.com.
Life insurance is one of those subjects that make people want to change the subject rather than admit they probably don't have enough. I'm State Farm agent Allison Horner, and that's why I focus on how the benefits of life insurance actually live on by asking people to think in terms of life without having to sell the house insurance, or life without having to give up college insurance. Find out how the benefits of life insurance can live on for your family. Call me, State Farm agent Allison Horner, and get to a better state with State Farm.
I'm Matt Armbruster with Ransom Ministries. We help people in our community that most others have given up on. Please donate your unwanted electronics to Ransom Recycling. We teach life skills, job readiness, and job creation through our electronic recycling program. We take anything with a cord. Find us at ransomministries.com, or you can call us at 251-751-0044.
Reeves Price is managing Hangout Festival as well as one other in New Orleans. The number of moving parts that he has a grasp of is remarkable. And we're going to talk this segment about the talent, what it's like to work with that talent. We hear stories about this stuff. I've referenced it a couple of times, the M&Ms. I remember hearing that Michael Jackson had to have a bath drawn from him with all like Dasani water or something like that, all of it poured individually out of a bottle of water. I don't know if any of this is true, but they sure help the aura or the mystery of the artist. Reeves, tell me about working with some of these artists. Are they as eccentric as I guess the marketplace wants them to be, or are they mostly normal people like you or me who happen to play the guitar or the organ or sing well? What's the story there?
You know, it's a wide spectrum. It would be a disservice to any artist to try and kind of lump them all into to one bucket. But you certainly have the eccentric ones that are, more particular or more picky, and you have the ones that are kind of just much more casual and will kind of go with the flow. But I think when you hear about those stories, or the artist riders is kind of that's the terminology. Yeah. A rider is kind of a document that's provided that says, here's what we need to put on our performance. And then if you can't do it, then we're not showing up type of thing. I think it's important to remember that a lot of these artists essentially live on the road, right? They're living out of a tour bus for months, if not years at a time. So, and they're expected to put on, their best performance night in and night out. So it's, one of our jobs as a promoter and producer here is to make them as comfortable as you possibly can and give them all of the things that they ask for that help them get into the right frame of mind and be ready to put on the best show that they can for the people that have paid so much money to be there. I know I do a decent amount of traveling and I know I get kind of thrown out of whack if, something's not right with my seat on my airplane or whatever else. And so I understand where a lot of these artists are coming from when they have asks that may seem eccentric or, kind of odd. Like, the average person may say, who do they think they are? But you just got to remember that these folks are, very often living in not the most comfortable situations, or they're just constantly on the move. They're not at home. And so part of our job is to make them feel at home.
Give me a sense of some of the requests. I'm sure you're going to want to protect the identity of these people, but what are some of the requests that would cause me perhaps to say, who do these people think they are?
I mean, look, I've never personally done the whole, only red M&Ms in a bowl thing. I have heard of it. There's some artists that are, that want to see all of their money in cash before they get on the stage. They're typically artists that are kind of, they're a little bit older and they're used to, from the 50s and 60s and 70s when this business was not nearly as, electronic and digital and all of that as it is now. They want to know they're going to get paid. So you see that sometimes, a lot. You see a lot around food, right? It's these guys they're living on the road a lot. They're eating catering or whatever is provided for them locally. So a lot of it's about making sure there's healthy options for them to eat. Whether it's vegan diets or vegetarian diets or gluten-free and all of those things. So that's usually a big thing, the food that they're looking for. Some of them may have, particular requests in their dressing rooms. Like they may want to see, they may want the whole interior of the trailer to be covered in AstroTurf for one reason or another, or
good gracious, you're serious? This is not hypothetical that you're coming up with. The AstroTurf. This is for real.
That one is for real, yeah.
And you're just going to tantalize us. You're not going to tell us who, when, why, where, what. Just the AstroTurf is all you're going to say.
Yeah. So, lighting. No fluorescent lighting. That's one that we see a lot. A lot of times, especially when you're going into kind of big arenas or kind of municipal auditorium type places. I mean, you're there. You're starting to load in at 6 a.m. The show's 8 to 10 and you're loading out from 10 until 2 a.m. So a lot of these guys are putting in 16, 18-hour days. And they're sitting in these essentially cement buildings that they don't see the light of day for 10 hours. They don't want to be living in a fluorescent, concrete hole. So we'll do a lot with, removing fluorescent lighting or bringing in lamps that are, that have more incandescent
interesting
bulbs, things like that. That's one we do a lot. And then just updating furniture. It may be there was one artist that likes to have 100-yard track set up so that he can do warm-up sprints before he takes the stage. There's fun stuff like that.
Interesting. Yeah, and it's a deal breaker. If you say, listen, we don't have 100 yards. We just don't have space. We can get you 80 yards. They'll say, done. I'm out of here. No way. This deal is over. I mean,
I've never had anybody act totally unreasonable in that, to that extreme.
Yeah.
There's certain things that are certainly deal breakers. It mainly revolves around the technical aspect of their show, right?
Sure.
It's, these performances are becoming more and more audio visual focused, whether it's the video content or special effects or things like that. And so that's usually a discussion that you have very early on when you're talking to an artist about, trying to get them to perform your show. It's like, well, how big is your stage? How much weight can we hang from it? Can you do this, and this? And those, while there's some flexibility there and certain artists that are more willing to work with you than others, and certain artists that just feel that they have the leverage to get what they want out of you. For the most part, you end up being able to work through it and figure it out.
Is it an adversarial relationship with the artists? It sounds like it can be kind of adversarial, that you want them to be there and they're not sure, and it kind of going back and forth, and you have to keep up in the ante, is it adversarial?
Oh, I wouldn't say it's adversarial. It's a negotiation.
Yeah.
The performance fee is one thing, and then there's the other sort of terms and conditions, if you will. And if their agent or manager is good at their job, they get all of that stuff up front and say, hey, this is, at the point of, when we start negotiating, here are all the things we need. And that's really, really helpful. And that's what we can we know when we see that up front and we see a lot of information in detail earlier on, we know that it's going to be a smoother ride versus you book an artist to perform and then, a month out, they're saying they need this, 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 and this. And it's like, well, guys, why didn't we know about this now? We couldn't,
right.
We can't do that now. We can do this. But so the good ones, that have good teams around them, they know what they need well prior to, showing up at the venue.
You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. I'm on the line with Reeves Price, and we're talking about the festival business. Reeves, your business was started when you found a niche in post-Katrina New Orleans, if I'm understand this correctly. Are you still looking for niches to fill? Is that still a part of your business model?
Always. That's how you find new business. That's how you find new audiences, and that's how you create unique opportunities for yourself and for the company that you worked for. There's new artists that are coming up all the time. There's new genres of music. And you have to stay in touch with all that stuff. Otherwise, you're just going to get passed by. You'll be obsolete.
So what new genres of music are going to be displayed at Hangout Fest? I'm old. This world has passed me by. Give me a sense of what the genres are.
Well, so, Hangout is what we would call sort of a multi-genre festival. There's some festivals that may focus on just one particular type of music, right? Maybe it's just country music.
Yeah.
Or it's just electronic music, or it's, just, sort of hard rock. Hangout books a spectrum, artists kind of across certain spectrums of popular music. We don't have any classical artists. You're not going to see Yo-Yo Ma get up on the main stage and do his thing. But we do have a wide range of kind of popular artists. This year, we're kind of bringing a country artist named Kane Brown to the show, and country music hasn't really been a part of the bill in quite a few years. Zach Brown played a number of years ago, but there hasn't been a country artist on the bill in a little while. Within the sort of genre world, the one area that's kind of known for having all sorts of different little trends and things going on is the electronic music side of things. So there's always a new style or a new sound that's kind of bubbling up. And, with the sort of explosion of streaming, people are finding and connecting with new artists faster than they ever have before. And so you see new phenomenon like Billie Eilish, rise from, rapidly, and kind of create a community around themselves or herself. And that's, that's something that if you're not paying attention for 6 months, you can totally miss the boat on.
Wow. So let me share a quick memory, and then I'm going to ask for one from you. I was a student at Tulane at Jazz Fest, somehow weaseled my way up front and listening to the band. I was actually up there to wait for the next band, but that band that was in front playing was fantastic. And I looked at the guys next to me, people who had been there and were really enjoying it. I said, man, these guys are great. Who are they? He said, they're called the Meters. I'm like, and later I realized that I was late to that game, that the Meters were well established by that time. And I've since become a great fan of theirs, got everything they've ever recorded, and in fact have interviewed George Porter on this show. But it's one of my favorite music memories. Share with me, based on your widely traveled music festival experiences, a music memory with me.
I would say one of the more potent ones was seeing Billie Eilish perform for the first time at Coachella last year. There was just such hype around this artist, and I think she was 16 or 17 years old at the time, and she had really, she produced her first record with her brother out of her bedroom, and it has exploded. They're kind of, she's being compared to Nirvana in terms of the sort of just cultural impact and that she's having in popular music, and seeing her perform for the first time. Her music is kind of subtle. It's not, typically not kind of loud and overpowering. It's nuanced, subtle, and it's kind of beautiful. And has a lot of quiet moments. And I was anxious to see how it carried over in a festival setting, which is, typically not really, wouldn't describe it as intimate.
Yeah.
And she did such an amazing job just captivating the crowd, keeping their attention and performing. I was just shocked at her maturity and energy as a 16 or 17 year old, playing that stage for the first time, and what she did. So I'm hoping, I can't wait to see her again at Hangout and see what the rest of the crowd thinks. But I think it's going to be a pretty special night.
Will you personally interact with her, or she got a team of people guarding her?
She's definitely has a team of people around her. Her whole family tours with her mother, her father, her brother, and then obviously her tour manager and production teams and all of those things. I may get to interact with her. I typically do not go seek out an artist and take a picture with them or things like that. I'd be tempted to with her, but I don't think I'll do that. But I do hope I get to see her and tell her how much I love her music and appreciate her coming down to Alabama and performing at Hangout.
I hope Gulf Shores treats her very well. Reeves, thank you so much for your time, and take care of my daughter. She'll be there. Take care of her.
We'll do. That's our first and that's our primary job, is take care of the attendees and make sure everybody has a good time.
Reeves Price, folks. Reeves, again, thank you so much for your time. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. What's Working is brought to you by Coastal Alabama Community College. We'll be back after this break. Have you ever wondered what it takes to put on a good concert? Not just the musicians. I'm talking about behind-the-scenes stuff, the nitty-gritty things the audience doesn't see. There are a lot of moving parts to any concert. Now think about doing all of that in the sand, in the heat, for dozens of bands for 3 days. It's a tall order, and it needs to be right. Coastal Alabama Community College offers a certificate in industrial engineering technology, and it covers many skills needed to pull off this task. Students learn about electricity, installation of motor controls and circuits, power transmission and wiring, all very valuable skills to put together a production like the Hangout Festival. To learn more about this certificate program, check out Coastal Alabama Community College's website at coastalalabama.edu. We'll be back.
I'm Matt Armbruster with Ransom Ministries. We help people in our community that most others have given up on. Please donate your unwanted electronics to Ransom Recycling. We teach life skills, job readiness, and job creation through our electronic recycling program. We take anything with a cord. Find us at ransomministries.com, or you can call us at 251-751-0044.
What's Working with Cam Marston is brought to you by Stella Artois Beer. Stella Artois is a perfect beer for celebration. Nothing caps off a big sale, hitting your incentive goals, or a profitable quarter like a round of Stella's. Brewed first in 1708 as a special Christmas brew, today Stella is a gift for everyone to enjoy year-round. Stella Artois. Find it wherever fine beer is sold.
Hi there. I'm Josh Knoll with Gulf Coast Financial Advisors. As your business grows and you accumulate wealth, planning to protect your assets becomes more and more important. I work with individuals and business owners throughout Baldwin County to help them protect their prosperity. Call me today at 251-327-2124 or find us at gulfcoastfa.com.
Securities offered through Pro Equities, member FINRA, SIPC.
Is your business growing? Does your existing metal building need an update? Expansion? New roof? With almost 20 years of experience, Mosley Building Systems is the leading metal building contractor along the Gulf Coast. We are your local design-build experts. From expansion to new construction or repairs, we can guide you through all aspects of your project. Mosley Building Systems works with each client to fulfill their vision. For more information, go to mosleybuildingsystems.com.
Not a lot of time to finish up today. I want to thank Reeves for his time and an extraordinary amount of respect from me for managing the processes of these festivals, the extraordinary number of details. Unbelievable. If you're going to hang out, look at it with a different set of glasses on this time. Look at it through different eyes. I want to thank John Thompson. John is our show's producer, does a good job, and I want to thank Kristen Ogden. Kristen manages schedules and arranges interviews and clears my schedule and pairs them and all kinds of stuff, and writes a good bit of this stuff now, which I'm grateful for. We'll have another show next week. Have a good week, everybody.